I'd like to bring the July 10th Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Posinel.
Here.
Commissioner Selberg.
Here.
Commissioner Buck.
Here.
Commissioner Zarmi. Commissioner Walker.
Here.
Commissioner Coletta.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Simons. Commissioner Gordon.
Here.
And Chairman Flouché.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. A couple of announcements. Anyone who has not yet signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Should anyone wish to speak, please complete the request form, which is also located in the lobby table next to the sign-in sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item, including sub-items. Please note that there are stairs on the right, left, and center aisle, and we ask that you use caution when using these stairs. There is also a ramp located at the audience's left. If anyone has written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters they intend to present at today's meeting, please have 17 copies and give them to the staff member in the back of the auditorium. She has her hand up. Thank you. If you do not have 17 copies, please use the table with the overhead camera next to the podium to present your document. If you want your document to go on record, you must hand them to the clerk with your presentation with the agenda item clearly marked on the document. Members of the public cannot speak to the staff members that are sitting at the tables with a microphone in the front during the meeting. If you have any questions, please see the staff member located in the back of the auditorium, and she can meet you in the lobby. Staff members, please raise your hands. Thank you. A timer will be activated, and all speakers will be limited to 2 minutes to make their presentations and statements. Everyone, please turn off your cell phones or pagers or place them on vibrate during the meeting. If you do or must receive a call, please leave the meeting area and go outside to have your conversation. We ask that the audience refrain from talking with anyone during the presentations and discussion. Today, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear public testimony and then forward a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The items with a recommendation made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors Monday, August 5th at 9:30 a.m. in the same location, with the exception of any continued items. Everyone attending the meeting is asked to remember that the administrative building and campus are tobacco-free areas, which means no smoking is allowed curb to curb. Also, only bottled water is allowed in the auditorium. No food, soda, coffee, etc. is allowed in the auditorium. If there are any items remaining on the agenda, the Commission will break for lunch at 1 p.m. Approval of the June minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the June 12th meeting. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda. Anybody want to pull anything on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion to approve for staff recommendation.
Second it.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Regular agenda. Item number 2.
Item number 2 is an evaluation of a request to name 2 roads, Brown Scenic Trail east of Blank Ranch Road and Winding Trail south of Brown's Scenic Trail, located in a portion of sections 17 and 18, Township 20 North, Range 14 West, in Wallapai Mountain vicinity of Mohave County. Staff recommends approval of this item as indicated in the staff report. We've received no objections to this item.
Is the applicant present? Is there any? The applicant doesn't seem to be present. Is there any questions or comments from the Commission to the staff? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept the staff's recommendation for agenda item 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Item number 2, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 3A.
Item 3A is an evaluation of a request for an amendment to the Mohave County General Plan from an NC Neighborhood Commercial Land Use to GC General Commercial, and an amendment to the Virgin River Communities Area Plan from an NC Neighborhood Commercial Land Use designation to GC General Commercial to allow development of a truck stop and to amend Exhibits 6.4 and 6.5 of the General Plan to match for Assessor's Parcel Number 402-33103 in the Desert Springs vicinity.
Is the applicant present? Would you like to address the commission?
I'll just use this as an exhibit. My name's Dick Lundgren. I'm a real estate agent in the Arizona Strip representing the owners. This 32-acre parcel sits right next to I-15, about, I'm going to say 1,500 feet is within 200 feet of I-15. It also is very near the exit ramp for the on the north side of I-15. In the past, this has not been something that was possible because ingress and egress were a problem. But the state of Arizona and the federal government apparently have taken it upon themselves to redo the tunnel so that it will handle larger vehicles and more traffic. And so as a result of that, my clients would like to have the opportunity to sell this piece of property to someone who would be interested in investing in it as a commercial venture. I will tell you that we had a contract on this property as with the intent being to put a truck stop on it. That contract is currently dead in the water, but we brought this just to show you a plan. My clients also went to several of the area residents and talked with them about what they might do to satisfy some of their concerns. The reason I brought this today is you can see they have tried to show that along the area bordering the property that's next to any kind of residential concern, they're willing to put in a berm, a park, something as a buffer zone to accommodate them. And one of our main concerns up there is we really don't have anything that creates a lot of jobs. This property is in a perfect location to create 60 to 80 jobs. Questions?
Any questions of the speaker? Not at this time. We may call you back. We have several speakers on item 3A. Patty Nguyen.
We are in opposition to
Please
this.
state your name.
Oh, Patty Nguyen, you stated it for me, thank you. We are in opposition to this project. As an adjacent property owner, we own parcel 402-32125. We are very concerned about the large amount of traffic and noise, including big rig diesel trucks and trailers that would access this project through our land for the proposed convenience store, gas station, and truck stop. The property owner is planning on accessing the truck stop using the road that splits our 4.82 acres for diesel access to his truck stop. We have spent considerable time and money preparing submittal and development of our property and waiting for years for the new underpass to be developed. This big rig traffic and noise would dramatically limit and alter potential use and our plans for our property. If the property owner is planning a residential development as the county master plan calls for, then we are fine with leaving access through our property as is.
Thank you. Edward Southwick, Jr.
As stated, I'm Edward Southwick, Jr., a real estate broker and also author and speaker on happiness. And speaking about happiness, this whole idea of having a truck stop right next to a residential area and right next to the home I have and others is just, it's a destroying of the value of our property. They'll have diesel emissions going on, destroys the quality of air, sound pollution, light pollution at night, increased potential of crime, problems with the wildlife, drainage. I mean, it just goes on and on. I'm sure that none of you would want a truck stop right next to your backyard. And that's the bottom line. As American citizens, we're appealing to you, who are the ones that are supposed to protect our rights as citizens and to quiet enjoyment of our properties, to not allow this to come in and basically steal $50,000 or $100,000 from our property values, ruin our quality of life. Emphysema with they've got all kinds of studies, and we've submitted these to you of what the damage can be from a truck stop there. That's why they don't put them in residential areas, and they usually put them in commercial areas. And so for them to just come, to anyone to try to come and just ramrod this through, whether it's on economic development or anything else, and we've got over 50% of opposition. As you see, I'll talk more here. I don't want to go over my 2 minutes, but anyway, it's just really basic bottom line stuff that we don't want it in our backyard. We're totally opposed to it. We've got all kinds of reasons to back it. I'm sure any person, any American would not want it in their backyard either. And so we hope that you will vote against it.
Thank you. Chris Frazee? Rossi? Okay, sorry.
Hello, my name is Chris Grossi. Pretty much what these people have just said, I also agree with. There's also an ordinance number 87-1. The ordinance is intended to restrict the permitted use of outdoor artificial illumination devices emitting undesirable rays into the night sky, which have a detrimental effect on astronomical observations. In other words, we won't be able to enjoy the stars. We won't have the nightlife. You won't hear the wildlife, the animals. Our quality of life would be different. We won't be able to go out into our yards and have peace and some place that we've worked hard to enjoy. Our life just won't be there anymore. We'll have to worry about crime. People maybe walking up behind us and who knows, knocking us in the back of the head, stealing from us, robbing, whatever. And our life would just change. I guess that's all I'm saying.
You know, I don't think, could you please state your name?
Chris Grossi.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Douglas Adrian? No.
Close enough.
Okay.
Good morning.
Please state your name.
My name is Douglas Adriant. I'm postmaster of the Littlefield Beaver Dam area. I am also on the fire board at the Beaver Dam Littlefield Fire Department. So I very much understand the tax base and how the taxes and how a piece of commercial property could help our area and create more jobs. Unfortunately, I am also, my in-laws and myself are landowners of one of the properties that borders up against this portion. The speaker that came on earlier and spoke about the egress, I have some pictures. This is the trucks coming on the off-ramp that's there now, and that's the turnoff to the property onto Fleet Street, which is the property that adjoins our side of the freeway and would have joined the truck stop. This is the corner they'd have to maintain turn to get on. This is the new tunnel being built. The original tunnel is only 13 feet 10 inches tall. Large trucks cannot drive through there. I was a truck driver, so I understand that. The new tunnel is only a couple feet taller. The problem is triples will have a hard time still getting through the new tunnel. Also, it's one tunnel, one-way traffic. Who's going to regulate that? And how are two trucks going to go through there in opposite directions to get to the northbound side of the freeway? This is the picture of the south side of the tunnel on the other side on Farm Road and the access that there is now and the new tunnel being built to the side of it. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I do have a couple questions here regarding that tunnel and the access road. And you said you were a former truck driver as well?
Yes.
So a truck typically needs to take a little bit wider turn occasionally to get in and around things. The pictures don't really show the distance from that tunnel from the access road. So when they've got to make a right turn or a left turn onto that, you know, how are they going to have to
It's
go
going to be
wide into the
it's
other
going to be a
road?
sharp turn, and they'll have to make a wide turn into the other lane in order to make that turn. As he said, the distance is only a couple hundred feet from the actual freeway, from the access road on the freeway.
So they have to get off, then jump onto the access road, then drive down, and then hit the tunnel.
The access road, what it is the off-ramp is actually like an access road parallels the freeway on each side. So as you come off the freeway, you're driving on a parallel road. You have to make a sharp right turn, and in about 30 feet, you either have to make a right or a left turn onto the access road, which is either Fleet Street on one side of the freeway, Farm Road on the other side of the freeway. The off-ramps are both the same, and that's what this picture shows.
And as a former truck driver, is your opinion of the access road, does it have the ability to handle a semi? I mean, you've driven them enough and you know getting in and out of tight spaces. I mean,
it has the ability to handle a semi, but if a truck stop wants to be profitable, I'm sure they need to see more than one semi a day or one semi an hour. The problem is the northbound traffic is the traffic that would be headed towards the scales at the Arizona-Utah border. Typically, trucks will stop, head northbound to get their logbook straight, to get their sleep time in and everything to make sure they're correct before they go to the scales. Obviously, the truck stop's a good place to do that. The problem with northbound traffic is they will have to get off the freeway, make 2 right turns, and then make a sharp right turn to try and get into this tunnel, single-way traffic. So if a truck is trying to leave their truck stop to go to the northbound side of the freeway to get on the freeway, and one's coming off the freeway, they're going to have to fight for who gets to use that tunnel. First come, first serve, I guess.
have to reverse the process to get back.
And reverse
on
the
northbound.
process to get back.
Okay, and you also said you're on the fire department?
I'm on the board of the fire department.
And which side is
Our fire
department
station is on you'd classify it as actually the east side of the freeway. So it'd be the south side. The way the freeway runs, it'd be the south side.
And so the fire trucks have to use the existing tunnel now?
That is correct. Yeah, we have a tender that can fit under that.
But what's the tolerances? I mean, is it tight tolerance? I mean,
no, we have a couple
fairly
feet.
easy to get
I
through
think if I remember, the tender is about 12 foot. So I think we are just under 12 foot. So it has a foot or so, a foot and a half of clearance now, and the new tunnel will be over 15 foot. So they've dug it deeper to try.
And what's the average height of a typical semi?
Right around 15, 16 foot. Usually you try to be over 16 foot to clear anything. A large item, a low boy with maybe a crane or something on it may still not be able to get off the freeway. A high load won't be able to get off the freeway even with the new tunnel.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of the speaker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Patricia? All I have is Patricia on here.
It's Patricia Adriance.
Okay, all right, I got 2 things here, okay.
My major concern with this truck stop going in is the amount of traffic that will be turning around in front of my home. If they miss the entrance to the truck stop, they will be going down a dead-end street. My home is on the left-hand side of that street. I am the last home there. Therefore, they will be turning around, probably getting onto my property to make the turn, especially if it's a semi-truck. They have no option but to turn into my property. The second problem I have with this truck stop is the amount of pollution generated by the truck stop, not only with the fuel that's going in, but also with the light pollution. We did move out there so we could see the stars. We paid for our view, and now they want to come in and take our view away. Also, the ground and water pollution out there, there are a lot of endangered species in that area. And if they come in there and say there were to be a leak in one of their gas tanks, that could endanger our species. It could also damage our water source there, because we do have several springs in that area. They've already hit one spring just building the bridge. If they were to hit several springs in the process of constructing this truck stop, they would not only damage the wildlife area, but there's a risk that they could potentially flood our neighborhood if they continue with this process. So my concerns, therefore, are traffic turning around in front of my home on a road that's not maintained. We're responsible for maintaining it. So I'm just very concerned about who's going to pay to maintain that street. You know, it's a dirt road. So who's going to pay for the traffic coming back and forth in there when, you know, a semi-truck turns around, they create a lot of damage to a road? Who's going to fix that? Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much. Deanna Anderson?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Deanna Anderson. I've lived on my property since 1998. I know the area extremely well. I can answer any questions that you have. Today, I want to comment about May 8th, Planning and Zoning meeting. We were all prepared to come down to this meeting, including taking days off work and rescheduling planned trips. Frank Kelly asked for a continuation to talk to the property owners before the next Planning and Zoning meeting. The meeting was set up for Frank Kelly for June 20th to talk to the property owners. We had it scheduled for the fire department. All the homeowners were scheduled to be there. He had asked for the meeting. We had someone scheduled from Planning and Zoning to come to the meeting. We had also invited Brian Woldridge from U.S. Fish and Wildlife to be there. Frank Kelly canceled the meeting at the last minute. He has asked for the meeting. We scheduled it. We were insulted. Excuse me. People have lives and commitments. Each time a meeting has been canceled, it brings hardships to us. Neighbors returning from vacations early. Example, meeting scheduled for June 20th. May I continue, please?
Go ahead.
We were insulted at Frank Kelly's comments in one recent letter to Planning and Zoning, where he stated moving forward with a truck stop would be a win-win for everyone. He is dead wrong. Our quality of life would be destroyed, our property values worthless. Frank Kelly told, may I continue, please?
Okay.
Frank Kelly told me in the last conversation I personally had with him, he would personally not want a truck stop in his front yard either, and promised me that he would not go forward with the rezone since the majority of the property owners were against the rezone for a truck stop. I asked if I had his word. Frank Kelly and his partner Kevin also absolutely said that they would contact John Montgomery and they would take it off the books for rezone. The following morning after our conversation, many of our neighbors were unable to come to this meeting and will plan to attend the county supervisors meeting. Another huge issue is there is no access for the trucks or heavy traffic off Interstate 15. Single-lane tunnel under the freeway will not allow for this kind of traffic. And may I also mention, if you're going on the freeway on exit 9 heading south, once you get from the exit onto the freeway, there is a very, very short distance. Okay, if none of you have been down there, there's a huge short area before you hit the last bridge that crosses the Virgin River. So merging traffic off exit 9 has always been a really, really scary thing for us. So safety concerns, traffic concerns, residential concerns, and our quality of life. We're asking all of you, would you want a truck stop in your front yard? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Somewhere I read that there was 2 bus stops nearby, as what school bus stops
There
nearby.
is.
Where are they?
Okay, one is directly when you come off of the exit. When you come off exit 9, you have to cross a cattle guard to get onto the frontage roads on both sides of the freeway. The one school pickup and stop is right where you come off the freeway. It's right exactly in front of the proposed truck stop entrance. The other one is on the fire station property on the other side of the freeway, just as you come off the freeway.
So they're both really relatively near
very,
the
very
exit ramp
close.
itself.
Yes, I wish I had been able to get pictures for you, but school's out right now.
And you said the one is right in front of the...
Right in
currently, so
front.
they would probably have to look at going with a different location then.
For the school bus, well, I would love to see all of you come down, visit our area, visit this property, and see for yourselves, because that's what we will also ask our county supervisors to do. I know Mr. Watson is going to come down and look at the property before the upcoming meeting with the county supervisors, and I will pinpoint all of this. The drainage on this property, okay, all of it drains directly into the Virgin River. We have massive concerns. It's not just one little thing, it's everything. So please, come look for yourselves. All of us will be happy to take you guys for a tour, show you what's going on with this property.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any more
Chairman?
questions?
Any additional questions?
Mr. Chairman, one comment was made about the economic impact of having the truck stop jobs being specifically mentioned. What is the overall conditions as it exists now in terms of availability of jobs for people like yourselves that live close to this environment?
If all of you have never been down to our area, there's only 29 miles, okay, of the Arizona Strip. A lot of people work in Utah, and a lot of them work in Nevada. As far as working in our area, we have small businesses. A truck stop would also destroy their businesses. So, for example, Mr. Evans has a store in Beaver Dam, and he's building a new convenience store. Okay, he's spent a ton of money on this. Okay, he also sells lottery tickets. I can imagine that a truck stop would be a faster place to take and stop and buy lottery tickets or pick up things, which would also kill his business. And truck stops do not ever make good neighbors. There's good places that a truck stop could be put, like at Black Rock Road, really close to the port of entry. I mean, there's really great avenues that can be looked at, but with the access to the frontage road off the freeway, if you've seen it for yourselves, you would understand that there's no way.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions of the speaker? I'd like to bring the applicant back up. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions. The big question to me is why, after our last meeting, you were going to have a public hearing for the neighborhood, and then the day before, you basically said, oh, we're not going to do that. I'd like to know.
I'll let Frank come up and
Absolutely.
answer that. I'm not privy to that.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Frank Kelly, And the answer to your question is basically, we understood that Deanna was spearheading the movement against the truck stop. We had been in several phone conversations with Deanna. Our initial goal, because of the way the paperwork was filed up to this point, and it said truck stop, that was from the original buyer who was going to purchase the property for a truck stop. So as the process went on, we know that when that deal fell out, we all looked at each other and said, we still need this rezoned to commercial because that's what it makes the most sense as, is commercial. So when I told Deanna she was just adamant to the point of, we don't want that zone that commercial because the truck stop could fall in to that rezoning point. So anyways, she says there's no way. We're just adamantly, we do not want that zoning. So at that point, it was to the point of, is there any reason to meet with these people? Because she's spearheading this thing, and they're pretty adamant that they don't want it.
Well, Ms. Anderson isn't on the commission, and I'm just you really didn't answer my question as to why. I mean, the day before, a lot of people had time allotted to go to these, and public meetings sometimes take weeks to get everybody on the same schedule to show up. And personally, I thought it was a little rude that you canceled the day before. In fact, planning and zoning staff planned on coming up there too. And I know the commission in the past has always looked at these public meetings as very important, dealing with the neighborhood residences. And now you're talking not having a truck stop, and doesn't sound like you really have a plan to do anything with it other than rezone it and try to do something with it, and who knows what could possibly, who could buy it and what might be built on that. So you really don't have an answer for that, do you?
I mean, we were just so far along in the process that we figured, why restart the process again? You know, I tried to call John Montgomery as early as I could, because we have to make decisions, and we're making decisions based on our timing and what's making sense for us. And so I tried to call John as early as I could to let him know that we were going to get it back on, so they could, you know, the people could come up and say their piece. We wanted to put it up to the board to so the powers that may be can make their decision, basically.
Well, and the other thing that I read in there, and I'm sure the other commissioners did too, that in one of the correspondence, the comment was made that you were going to come in with another project and for that meeting, and I'm just wondering what happened to that also.
Yeah, I'm not aware of.
Okay, it was just some of the correspondence.
I'm not aware of what that was.
Any questions of the speaker?
I have one. Has there been a traffic study done? I see the state recommended one, but I don't see.
No, there has not been a traffic study done, and here's my point with this. I brought this map, and again, correctly stated, we're not necessarily here saying that we have to have a truck stop, because as I mentioned earlier, that deal is dead.
Yeah.
But the point that we're trying to make here is, when you look at this property is, the highest and best use for this property is commercial. You're not going to have people that want to build a home fronting I-15. And so consequently, the only way they're going to be able to have any real success with this property is to have it zoned in a way that we would be able to put some kind of commercial venture there. In terms of hurting business in Beaver Dam, Bill Evans is a friend of mine. This property is not going to hurt Bill Evans. Bill Evans depends on local traffic. He doesn't depend on, it's people who are going into Beaver Dam that shop and buy at his store. This would be pulling people off of the interstate, and if it were a truck stop. We are looking at other options. We have had one person that's contacted us about the possibility of a minimum security prison, and I don't know that that would throw everybody out of their wheels, but again, there are a lot of things that this would be very functional for because of the location. Certainly, we know that even if you approve this, no one who buys this property and goes forward trying to do some kind of a commercial venture is going to be able to do it without going through planning and zoning and getting everything approved as well. So the point that I've been making all along is this property needs to be zoned commercial because of the location. And at that point in time, whoever buys the property would have to go through all of the steps that it would require. Environmental, all those things have to be addressed. You're saying that this can be zoned commercial doesn't say that anything is passed, because it's not. You and I both know that what would have to happen if someone buys it, they're then going to have to get approval for the buildings, for the environmental issues, for the traffic issues, all of those things. So, thank you.
Yeah, we understand that. Any additional questions of the speakers?
By the way, I just wanted to point out that 4.82 acres is not in the plan, not in this plan, not in Frank's plan to use as an entrance into that site. If someone has stated that, we are not aware of that, because that had nothing to do. That 4.89 acres was owned by John Campos until about a year and a half or 2 years ago, and that's a totally separate piece of property. There's no plan on their part to access through that property.
Okay, but really what you're saying is you're not going to build a truck stop, but you want us to rezone it so that something else can go in.
What I'm saying is we would like to see this zoned commercially so that we could approach people with commercial zoning, because currently we can't really do that.
Would that be a C1, a C2, C2H?
C2H is what we would prefer.
Okay, well, okay. Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments or discussion from the commission?
It's already zoned commercial. I mean, it's just neighborhood commercial, correct?
That's correct.
Yep. Why wouldn't we leave it alone and the way it is, and if another proposal comes up, it comes up?
Yeah, well, that would be my thought.
And looking at some of the
land
residents
around it.
on the south side, I mean, there's that buffer of some commercial, but it looks like there's residents right behind it. They're
Well,
relatively
the
close to the
residential is
front of it.
behind it, and the
I mean,
neighborhood
on the other side of the
commercial
interstate
is
as
on both
well,
sides
is
of it,
like,
basically.
I mean, the residents are still pretty close to the interstate irregardless, so.
Yeah, no, I
I mean, that
understand.
argument to me doesn't.
Are you looking for an motion to?
Well, if we're done with discussion, yes, John.
Point of clarification, Chairman. The general the general plan designation is neighborhood commercial. The zoning at this point is agricultural residential.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Uh, 30 seconds, come on up and just be brief and
I'm just saying, I think it was very astute.
state your
that-
name again, please.
Edward Southwick. That, you know, right now, if another project comes in, they could do it at that time. But if once you open the zoning and change it, then of course the door is completely open, and then, you know, that's on the way. And the motivation is to do a truck stop, because that's really what would be profitable there, and they know it. And I understand, because I'm a broker and it's a temptation.
Right.
You can't ramrod it through with people's things. And the thing with Bill Evans' store too, and I'm personal friends with him, that would take a great deal of his thing away. Because when you have only one place to stop there for a convenience store, you stop there. When there's two places and one that's right much closer, you're going to go to the one that's much closer. So of course it's going to take his business. And then of course the property does border right up, even though it starts at the freeway, it goes right past our properties. So that point too. So.
Okay, thanks.
Can I just say something?
Actually,
Just as far as,
come up to the microphone, please. State your name.
I'm Patricia Adriance, and as far as the entrance into this truck stop being placed, it would really need to be placed near those bridges. And I don't see how they're going to get away from doing that. Whether they turn right or left, they still have to go under that little bridge, and there's no room for them to really turn.
I understand that, and
Okay.
we're really dealing with a land use issue,
Right.
not whether or not the tunnel is big enough.
Right, okay, thank you.
Appreciate it, though. Okay, so the neighborhood commercial is on both sides of it. The residential is behind it. This particular 32 acres is still zoned AR. So I guess I'm looking for either some more discussion or some kind of a motion as to what we want to do.
I would like to leave it AR.
Any discussion on that?
I have to concur at this point until there's a viable project. I think it's, at this point, everything I've heard just doesn't seem to make sense to fit in right now. And if I made the motion right now, I would have to make the motion to deny.
Would you make a motion?
If Chairman...
I'll entertain a motion unless we have more discussion.
I move we vote to deny the request.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to deny item 3A.
3A.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Just as a note, the basic reason is...
I see no reason to change it. I mean, it's what it is. There's not going to be a truck stop. Somebody's going to have to come back in there and apply for a rezone anyhow when they decide what they're going to do with the property.
Okay, thank you.
Rezone, no commercial venture, you'll look at it.
Item 3B.
Item 3B is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 402-33103 from an AR agricultural residential 1 acre minimum lot size zone to a C2H general commercial highway frontage zone to allow development of a truck stop in the Desert Springs vicinity. Based on the action on the prior item, staff would recommend denial as not complying with the general plan or area plan. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for 3B?
Dick Lundgren, we've spoken with a lot of different commercial people, and nobody will even talk to us about that property as a commercial property without a rezone. So if you leave it AR, which you've done already, then no one will speak to us on behalf of purchasing that property unless the rezone has already been completed. They don't want to go through that process. They don't mind going through the process of getting all their permits for buildings and permits for environmental, but they do not want to go through the process of a rezone. So that's kind of where that's at, and you guys have made your decision, and I understand, and I guess we'll ride that horse. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker?
I just have one comment. I think I would feel a little more comfortable looking at this thing if there was a traffic study we could look at, that a professional company that does these could come to us and say, this tunnel will handle this or it won't handle this.
Mm-hmm.
And until I see that, I don't think I could support anything.
Yeah.
On
Well, John Campos, who owned it previously, had a 154-home subdivision planned out on that, and the ingress egress was the issue for that. We couldn't get that, and then also they needed a buffer along the front of some kind to protect those homes because it is too close. There really are no homes that sit right along I-15 on Farm Road, perhaps with the exception of the one down the road on that dirt road. But everything along that frontage on the road on this side of the road is commercial. I mean, to the east of this property is an RV and storage unit. To the west of this property is nothing for a good portion of it, and then kind of in the southwest corner there are 4 stick-built homes and 4 manufactured homes, and and then to the north of it, it runs into BLM and then over a cliff into the river. So there just isn't a lot of impact.
One other point. I think that in the
world of development, it's not always the dollars and cents. I think unfortunately, our world has come to that, but it's still possible that the people play a significant role in the development of their community. And I think the two things that affected me the most was the lack of going back and meeting with them, and maybe a truck stop isn't the answer, but if there is something to come to that property for someone to consider buying it, the first thing they would start with is talking to the people in the community and getting their support. And I think that would be a much easier process to rezone with the support of the neighborhood. I think
well, at this point, the suggestions that have been made are like a water park, a convenience store. It doesn't have the density, the population density to support either of those kinds of things. Whatever goes there is either going to have to be something that would be pulling people off of the interstate specifically for that purpose, point of destination for them, or it's going to have to be something that's pretty much self-contained. And that would be like the people who want to do the minimum security prison. That would be a good possibility as well.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
and it would create jobs as well. So, okay.
Any other questions of the speaker? Thank you very much. We have several other speakers on item 3B. Edward Southwick, Jr.
I'm Edward Southwick, Jr. Basically, just the same thing as we'd talked about before. And I understand from again, from a broker's standpoint, investor, I've done land development myself. It's always a temptation you want the highest and best use, and you want the most profit bottom line. And I can see where, the profit motive is very strong, but you just can't do it at the expense of your neighbors. And as you've rightly said, you've got to go in and get their cooperation, make sure it's neighborhood friendly, and truck stops just are not. And unfortunately, this particular parcel, it's just not. Maybe they do have problems with other projects. I'm sure they've thought of a lot of other things. It just may be one of those things that it just doesn't work out sometimes. I mean, that's life. But you don't have, for two investors, maybe they don't get a good deal of it and they didn't think it through, but you don't inconvenience, 50, 60 people that have rights too. So sometimes you just have to deal with things. Now, there is another thing that Deanna had mentioned. Couldn't they do something, and thinking of the investors, I'd be thinking creatively, swap that 32 acres of land for some BLM land, possibly, where it would be more appropriate, like over at Black Rock exit. I mean, there's some things that maybe could be done if they think creatively, but you just can't ramrod something like this through. It's just not going to work in the neighborhood, and I appreciate your vote here today. Thanks.
Thank you. Deanna Anderson.
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, my name's Deanna Anderson. I hope you all have a copy and had a chance to read the conversations between John Montgomery, Frank Kelly, and myself over the conversations. That kind of tells a lot. As far as the water park, that was my idea. I gave it to Frank Kelly during one of our conversations. To give you a little bit of information on the property, it was originally owned by Craig Williams and his family. He sold 50-some acres to Monty Home, whom had an idea of building a residential neighborhood. What happened with that is the county came in and said that we was basically landlocked because of the tunnel. And so they would not issue permits for any building of any subdivisions because of the single tunnel. It's taken this long for us to get another tunnel so that the property isn't landlocked for residential. This property would be awesome residential. We welcome neighbors and new homes. If it's commercial, it needs to be something like a beauty shop or something that will benefit us. If you have any questions, please ask.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Patricia Adrians.
My final remark is just that as a commercial property, it's going to just damage everything, and I'm glad you voted the way you did. If it would be residential-friendly commercial, like a water park or a small shopping strip that didn't have anything detrimental to it, that would not be an issue, I don't think, for any of us. So it's just, we're just looking out for the community in general, as well as for the public. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Douglas, Adrians?
Good morning again. My name is Douglas Adrians, and as before, I thank you for your previous votes. This time, the question, I don't have a problem with a light commercial use of that property in the future. If something comes in, if they can propose something or something can be used that is friendly for the community and also is not detrimental to the wildlife and any other hazardous problems. And again, even something that doesn't add too much traffic to the area, because even in a small two-tunnel area with no traffic enforcement and only a couple stop signs, again, as was brought up by some of the commissioners, is the idea that you have to worry about our children at their bus stops and how the buses will be able to access them. So everything is kind of, if we can find something that will work in that community, the community will be for anything to help the development in the area. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much. Dick Langren?
May I reapproach for less than 30 seconds?
Just hold on just a minute. Let me finish the process that I'm in right now. Dick Lundgren? Okay, thank you, Dick. Chris Grassi? Grassi?
Hello, I'm Chris Grassi. Thank you for your vote. Don't really have too much to add. Maybe commercially, maybe a little farmer's market or something like that might be involved, you know, for the neighborhood. But other than that, thank you. I appreciate the vote.
Any questions of the speaker? Thank you. Patty Nguyen?
Hi, Patty Nguyen. Just to clarify, this picture was shown earlier, and this is the access that comes off of I-15. And you'll see right here, this dirt part on that picture is actually the road that goes directly. It comes right off the exit here and goes directly through our property, splits our property in half. And we, you know, when that 32 acres was planned for residential, we don't have a problem with, I mean, that's the easiest access in and out of that entire piece. And so, you know, as a residential community, we're happy to facilitate something like that with that access that splits our property in two. And we've been out there a long time, and we, you know, the last thing we want to do is upset neighbors and such. And so that's why we've been working with them on you know, this can be a very nice, very friendly, very community type area. And like I said, you know, as long as that road takes it right past all these neighbors' homes, and hopefully we can, you know, have that area be developed so that it is community friendly and isn't going to disrupt their entire. That would be awful, you know. Number one, it'd be awful to have diesel coming right in your front yard. So anyway, we're like I said, we're happy to use that road if it's used in the appropriate manner.
I have a quick question. Is there a right-of-way through there already? Have you dedicated, or? No, there's not. Okay, thank you. Any questions of the speaker? We have no additional speakers signed up. Any questions or comments from the commission? Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion on item 3B.
May I please reapproach?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, come on up, please.
Thank you. I also wanted to mention that for our area of Mohave County, which you know how large our district or our county is, we have 5 sheriff's deputies. We have the sergeant, Michael Hogard, and we have 4 deputies. Their area includes all of Colorado City and all of the Arizona Strip, our side of the Colorado River. So we need something that's going to be less crime, because we don't have the law enforcement to handle it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the speaker? Oh, did you please state your name again?
Deanna Anderson.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion on item 3B.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to deny item 3B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 3B to deny. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The item is denied. Item 4A.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is an evaluation of a request for amendment to the Mohave County General Plan from UDA LDR, Urban Development Area Low Density Residential, UDA MDR, Urban Development Area Medium Density Residential, and UDA NC, Urban Development Area Neighborhood Commercial Land Use Designations, to a SDA SR, Suburban Development Area Suburban Residential Land Use Designation, and for an amendment to the Virgin River Communities Area Plan from LDR, Low Density Residential, MDR, Medium Density Residential, and NC, Neighborhood Commercial Land Use Designations, to an SDA, Suburban Development Area Land Use Designation to allow development of a residential subdivision and amend Exhibits 6.4 and 6.5 of the Mohave County General Plan to match for assessors parcel numbers 402-77-009B, 402-77-009C, and 402-77009D in the scenic vicinity, Mohave County. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? The applicant is not present, and we do not have any speakers. Any discussion from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on item 4A.
I'll make a motion to approve item 4A with staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item 4A. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 4B.
Yes, thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. This is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor parcel numbers 402-77-009B, 009C, and 009D from an AR 10-acre agricultural residential 10-acre minimum lot size zone to an RO 1A single-family residential manufactured homes prohibited 1-acre minimum lot size zone to allow for a residential subdivision in the scenic vicinity, Mohave County, Arizona. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? We have no speakers on the item. Any discussion or questions of the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on 4B.
I'll make a motion to approve based on staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 4B. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 5A.
5A is an evaluation of a request for an amendment to the Mohave County General Plan from UDA NC, Urban Development Area Commercial, Neighborhood Commercial, and UDA GC, Urban Development Area General Commercial, land use designations to a UDA CR, Urban Development Area Commercial Recreation land use designation, and an amendment to the Virgin River Communities Area Plan from NC, Neighborhood Commercial, and COM, General Commercial, land use designations to an HDR, High Density Residential land use designation to allow development for a recreational vehicle subdivision and amend Exhibits 6.4, 6.5 of the general plan to match for assessor parcel numbers 402-32-140, -170, -171, and -172 in the Desert Springs vicinity. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? The applicant is not present. We have no speakers on the item. I do have a question of staff, and that is the water and sewage. Is that municipal or going to be on a septic system of some kind, or where are they getting their water from?
The applicant proposes to extend the water from the existing water service provider. On-site sewage disposal system would be proposed, so they would do some sort of on-site system for that.
Did they get a letter from the water provider that there's water available?
As far as the sewer, the septic, let me make that clear. That's on-site septic. There would be septic systems on each parcel is what the proposal would be. I don't have anything for the water necessarily.
There's an awful lot of lots there for...
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke there.
It's
actually a package plant they're going to propose there. I apologize for that. And those would also be things that would be more reviewed during the subdivision process. I don't have anything in writing from the water provider at this point. Again, that would be something that would typically be done in more detail through the subdivision preliminary plat process.
But it's in the water service area, Beaver Dam, or...
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, the applicant is not present. Any questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on item 5A.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 5A. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 5B.
5B is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor parcel numbers 402-32-140, -170, -171, and 172 from AR, agricultural residential, 1 acre minimum lot size, C1 20M, which is neighborhood commercial, 20,000 square foot minimum lot size, and RM 4A, multiple family, 4 acre minimum lot size zones, to an SDCRE, which is Special Development Commercial Recreation Zone, to allow a recreational vehicle subdivision in the Desert Springs vicinity. Thank you.
The applicant is not present. Is there any questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept the staff recommendations on 5B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve per staff recommendations item 5B. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 6.
Item 6 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 120-04031 from an AR 36A agricultural residential 36 acre minimum lot size zone to a CRE commercial recreation zone to allow development of a manufactured home park in the Desert Hills vicinity. Staff recommends approval subject to the conditions in the staff report. We have received 30 letters of objection on this project. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? Would you like to address the commission?
Yes.
My name's Angelo Rinaldi, one of the owner developers.
And Dewey David.
Thank you.
What we're proposing is the upscale, state-of-the-art manufactured home community, maybe similar to the Reserve in Bullhead City, which is located on the Bullhead Parkway, surrounded by all new home subdivisions and very successful development, probably one of the most desirable areas in the city. We'd just like to make a couple comments. We probably agree with the findings of the staff, and that the proposed development does comply with Mohave County General Plan. The site is adequate for the intended use, and the neighboring area contains similar land uses. We were made aware of a letter of objection from a George Cumming representing the housing tract just to the east of us, saying that it's not compatible with the existing area. Well, their development's a small island, and to the east of them is a RV park. To the south of them is the Havasu Gardens manufactured home community. And our property to the west, which was originally a continuation of the Havasu Gardens manufactured home community. So in essence, they're surrounded on three sides by similar projects, and they're the ones that really would not be conforming to the area, even though we have no objection to them to build houses there. So anything else you want to add?
I'd just like to add that we've been in the county, you know, for, well, I'd say at least 25 years. We've developed very large projects such as Desert Lakes, Los Lagos Golf Course. This would just be another one of those quality developments. Any questions?
Any questions of the speakers at this time?
I've just got one question. I noticed on the plat that through the center of the property is a flood zone. How are you going to handle that?
Well, we've talked to our engineer about that, and there would be different ways to handle the drainage, and probably would have to locate a retention basin on some portion of the property. But that will all be worked out with the engineering. It doesn't seem to be of any kind of primary concern because it doesn't really have a lot of off-site drainage.
Any additional questions of the speaker? Thank you for now. We have several speakers on the item. Julia Marlar, I'm sorry.
My name's Julia Marlar. I am one of those offset homeowners.
Could you pull your microphone a little closer? Okay. Thank you very much.
I waited 3 years to be able to buy into this community. It is a widely spaced, very large subdivision. Right now we are having a growth spurt. There's not very many of us that have been there for any length of time, but we are a growing community. We have, since they opened it up to resale, we've sold 20 homes. Right now, there is no extension of sewer or water from the city to supply any more building in our area. I have not seen that addressed. Who is going to supply the water? They can't connect to our property because we only have, well, we're hitting our max limits right now. And we have, I would say, another 30 acres of home sites. How is that going to be addressed? Another thing is the ravine. The gentleman seems to feel like it is of no importance. I have driven through the ravine when there's been flash flooding. We're in the monsoon right now and we haven't had any water, but there's a lot of water going through there. If you examine the ravine that goes along Northview Avenue, there is a lot of debris. It takes a lot of water to move truck tires. My time is up.
No, you got to.
I have a little more time. Also, it is adjacent to a natural preserve. It is adjacent to a migratory bird refuge. If you put in 551 lots with 2 vehicles each, plus that of their children and grandchildren, how will that impact the nature? The whole area.
Go ahead.
The whole area is designed for enjoyment of recreation, the sky, the land, and the water. This has not been proven to me.
I just have a question for you. Are you aware, when you made your purchase out there, that that entire area was all zoned for mobile homes or single
No,
family
I was
homes?
not.
Yeah, including the land that your house is on was all zoned for mobile homes and the zoning was changed.
I did not know that, and I thank you for that revelation.
Okay.
Is there any questions?
Any additional questions of the speaker? Thank you very much. Paul Sharpie.
My name is Paul Sharp. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to defer to Mr. Cummings, who is our counsel. I'm representing VRE LLC. We are the private lender who took over the subdivision from North Point, immediately to the east of the applicant's property. And we've got it restarted, and I'll defer to George, and then I'll follow up after him, if that's all right.
Thank you, Paul. George Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm George Cummings. I'm here on behalf of VRE LLC, who has the adjoining subdivision. I filed a written objection, and I'm going to briefly go over a couple of the key points there. I understand you've got 30 neighborhood objections, and I think that's the, something Mr. Buck alluded to that earlier.
Right.
Part of your process is building cohesive communities, and this community is very largely opposed to this. They feel it will be very disruptive to what they envision as their sense of community and cohesiveness, and I think that is a very major item that needs to be addressed before you can go forward. And I don't see that there's been anything to address that. And I think it'd be inappropriate for you to take any action on this until they've done something more to address that. The second item is there is an assumption, because they are within the service area of a water company, that there's water available. Mr. Sharp is in charge of the infrastructure for us, and he can go elaborate some of the difficulties we've had. But bottom line is, the water service provider has advised us that they are basically fully allocated. They don't have anything more for us. I think they need to demonstrate they've got allocation or a will serve letter from EPCOR before you take any action. And the second thing is, physically the water company is at capacity with physical delivery components. We've had to go a considerable distance off-site to be able to sink a well that produces water that's potable. One of the problems with the prior developer, and contributed with the chair's indulgence, one of the problems was they sank a couple of wells that failed to generate quality water, and snowball effect of the expense, part of what got them in trouble. Those are, I think, two absolutely critical things that need to be addressed before you take, you do anything with this. I also note that there was some prior proposals for this parcel that were a density that is, again, with the chair's indulgence, compatible with the density that we've got. I think previously there was a proposal of about 3.6 units per gross acre. We're at about 3.8. Their proposal would go to 6. And when you have that kind of an increase in density, not only do you go outside the parameters of the whole neighboring section, in the general plan, which is aimed at about a 3.5 to a 5 per acre density, you now implicate, all those sections in the general plan. There's a whole section about all the infrastructure, and we could go through them one by one, but you all know what they are. I mean, when you have that kind of a jump, all of a sudden, every one of those things becomes implicated, and you don't have any information at all about how any of those things are going to be addressed. And with that lack of information, I don't see how you can approve this. Those, I think, are the big things. I guess the last point I make is at the end of the staff recommendations now, there's this standard thing about anything where there's this proposed project and the conditional rezone, and they get a couple of years. That's a much more extensive paragraph than it used to be. Back in the day, it was real simple. You got 2 years and it expires. End of discussion. Now there is a detailed process of notices, hearings. You have to take evidence and hear things because you are going to, if you deny it, you have to have reasons for revoking it. The public policy decision that you have the broadest discretion about is at this stage. This is where you can basically add things, do things that you want to address all of these things that are particular to this neighborhood and this community. Once you take this action and you trigger those things that you now have in that paragraph at the end, you've created some entitlement, some level of entitlement, and you now have that obligation to give them all these due process rights. I don't think that on the basis of what you don't know at this point, you can take that step today.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of the speaker? We can always call him back. John Gall?
John Gall, Arizona Landquist, Tempe, Arizona. Thank you, Chairman Flachet and members of the commission. It's been a while since I've been before this body, and so if I'm a little bit rusty, please forgive me. I'd like to speak in favor of the project. Having served on the General Plan Update Committee and chaired it in 2005, I understand the implications that zoning has, as Mr. Cummins has pointed out, and as the applicant has told you, this is a preliminary process. As Commissioner Coletta indicated, the engineering and the work hasn't been done on the project. Obviously, until an approval has been granted to an investor or developer in a project, they're not going to invest $450,000 to $500,000 to do the actual site studies for actual drainage and roads and such and what the configuration will be. But I think that more of the project concern is about what the mobile home park is. There might be a misconception that the mobile home park is kind of like the Desert Garden Estates project next to it, where the lots are actually sold to individual property owners and maintained by those individual property owners. This is a mobile home park. And I have an exhibit I'd like to show you of one very successful one in Phoenix, Arizona. And the mobile home park that they're proposing, as I mentioned, is a Class A mobile home park where the lots will be rented by the property owners, but they'll still have, with the current economic conditions, the ability to own a home for about $80,000. Cavco Homes of Arizona would be the primary provider of the homes, providing Arizona jobs, and their cost of a 1,700 square foot unit is about $80,000 for that to happen. Now, as you know, Lake Havasu City and the surrounding area doesn't have a lot of high-paying jobs. It's a service community with workforce housing needs because there aren't a lot of low-cost subdivisions. The average price of a home in Lake Havasu is about $185,000 and pushing the $200,000 mark in both areas. So we feel this is a viable alternative to provide workforce housing to the men and women and the families of the Lake Havasu area and Mohave County that can't afford to the benefit to buy a home such as the North Point subdivision. And with that, I'm free to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission to the speaker?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So the lots would be rented from?
Yes, from the mobile home park owner.
They wouldn't sell them the lot. They would lease the lot, lease the lot and pull their unit on and then hook up. You'd have hookup and everything.
Correct. It would be a Class A facility with a 5,000 square foot clubhouse or bigger, pool, recreation areas for the families to use, lots of open space. Obviously, the drainage channels would be utilized for open space purposes. A rough overlay was provided of a maximum density that would be placed on the lots, but in reality, the Cavco home model is very close to the density that Mr. Cummings pointed out of 4 per acre. So you're looking about an 80 by 100 lot to place a unit of that size on there with an attached garage. They would buy the unit, have part of the ability to own a home, the pride of ownership, but they would pay rent for the space that the home sat on.
So it wouldn't be affixed to the property?
Correct. It would be chattel, it wouldn't be a fixture and sold as a unit. So that way the park has control over the maintenance, the upkeep, the appearance of the park, which is a critical element. So I didn't want that to be lost when we're talking manufactured homes and looking at the surrounding Desert Hills area where the homes are owned and some of them are in disrepair. It would be a project that's maintained by the ownership of the park.
Thank you.
I've got a question, Mr. Gull. Can somebody buy a mobile home unit from somebody else and rent the space and bring it on, or is that going to be a kind of a captive audience?
It's going to be part of the CC&Rs that Cavco Homes would be the provider or a similar home provider, and they would all be new homes in the park, and that would be described by management.
Nothing old, okay. Any additional questions of the speaker?
Sir, do you know anything about the water supply?
Good question that you asked that. I have been in contact with EPCOR, the provider. And those of you who don't know the history of EPCOR, they were American Wastewater and Water. They were purchased by the city of Edmonton. They service many communities in Scottsdale and other communities. They have indicated to me, and I did speak with the manager of water resources, Jake Lender King, recently, and they will service the area. It's within their Corporate Commission Certificate of Convenience and Necessity. They do have problems with arsenic in the water there, that they require arsenic treatment, which was quite costly to the developer to pay for that arsenic treatment to the water. In fact, the water meters are only $190. The arsenic treatment's about $2,000 per unit. They have indicated to me they may have some Colorado River rights available. They're doing an allocation review right now, but they indicated to me that if we wanted to go forward with the project, we would have to purchase Colorado River rights. And in Mr. Cummings' letter, I'd like to point out, he indicates that it should be denied because of an aquifer, and Arizona Department of Water Resources has said that that area is in depletion. There is no record. I would challenge him to provide a record from the Arizona Department of Water Resources that says that. I know the director quite well. I've spoken to her on this project, and the service area that that's in is part of the Colorado River rights and law of the river. It's not in a groundwater aquifer like the rest of Mohave County. So there is water rights available on the Colorado River. It is, of course, subject to depletion with the drought, and the Department of Interior regulates what can be drawn out, but there's plenty of available water to be purchased to service the project.
Any additional questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Does this have any resemblance like La Fiesta RV Park? We got RVs coming in and out. Are they just fixed units on the parcels?
No, these would be fixed units on the parcels. Again, they would be about average price $80,000 for the unit. They would lease the space, the unit. The setup and delivery costs on the unit are quite expensive, as you can imagine. It has to be excavated. They're put on pylons with skirts around them. Usually there's attached garages or carports built after the models are placed there. So no, it wouldn't allow for RVs to come in and stay or go. It would be a Class A residence for the community.
And what kind of buffer between you and the neighbors are you proposing?
Well, there's currently a road that goes into the project. The project that I showed you and all the manufactured home projects have a wall, exterior wall around them with a gated community to keep the presence of the community, integrity of the community, and it would probably be the intention of the developer, whoever that ends up being, to do that as well. That's kind of standard for those type of projects and provides security not only for the people in the community, but a nice buffer for those around it.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of the speaker?
What about the sewer?
Another good question. The city of Lake Havasu City had provided originally a will serve letter for sewer on the project. Since the developer, Chris Reed, who you may not know in Mohave County, had originally started that project, went bankrupt, and they're now currently reviewing that agreement to see if the agreement is still valid or not. If it's not, the developers, Mr. Rinaldi and Mr. Dewey, have indicated that they would go with a package plant on site to service the property itself. Nobody's going to spend, $5 million to develop a project and go forward if it doesn't have water, sewer, and proper access. And the traffic study that was done and submitted to Mohave County was approved, and there's no real impact to the traffic to the area.
Any additional questions? Thank you, Mr. Gall.
Thank you.
Steve Zollner, is that correct?
Morning, my name's Steven Zollner. I just recently moved here from Florida. Built and bought a home in North Point, and the reason I chose that particular place is because of the construction and the area. I was very picky. I wanted to make sure that I had a quality home and I had a good view, no power lines and stuff like that. And I wanted to make sure that it was in an area where there was not going to be any area where there wasn't going to be any degradation of that particular view, and that I was going to not be surrounded by mobile homes. And now I find out that that's not going to be the case if this is approved. I also chose that area because it was north of town and there was not too much development there, and I figured that later on, maybe 15 or 16 years from now, there would be development there, but it wouldn't be too large. Now I see that there's a project there that's going to be very large. It's kind of surprising. And I also know that in the desert you have problems with water and sewer, and it kind of surprises me you're going to be able to put that large a development in that area. It amazes me that something like that would be approved. I also know that the water in this area is kind of hard. We have to have water softeners, which kind of surprised me. I just have an objection to the whole thing. If I had known this was going in, I never would have bought a home here. I like Mohave County. There was a reason I chose Havasu, and Havasu is not Bullhead City. I would have bought a home in Bullhead City if I wanted to have a home there. I chose Havasu for a specific reason because I like Havasu.
Okay.
And
I just have a quick question, and then I'll leave it to the. Were you aware that, I mean, you're surrounded by Havasu Gardens Estates, which is 98% modular homes. There's a few stick-built houses in there.
But if you go into North Point, when you get there, it's pretty much isolated.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm
And when you're in my home, you don't see that. What I'm afraid of is if this project goes through, I'm going to have a lot more traffic on that road than I do now. When you go down that road, the London Bridge Road right now, it's very quiet. That neighborhood's very quiet. We don't have a lot of light pollution. We don't have a lot of noise. There's not a lot of dogs barking. It's peaceful. That's why I chose that spot.
Okay. Thank you. Was there a question? Okay, thank you. Michelle Dawson.
Hello, my name is Michelle Dawson. I'm the real estate broker that represents VRE at North Point. I sell almost all the homes in there. I wanted to agree with Mr. Cummings on the impact that this project would have on our area as far as the amount of homes going into that project with just one road going back to it. Also, I had a question about the land usage being in compliance. There was some talking about the, excuse me, the lots being rented and not owned. I don't know if that changes the compliance, but all the other properties surrounding that area is all ownership. Everyone owns, it's deeded. So I don't know if that changes anything or not as far as the compliance. Just a little background about our project. VRE, because we are adjacent to that property, it's important to us. VRE was forced to foreclose on the North Point project in recent years. They've since spent an enormous amount of money and time to turn this project around, bring it out of foreclosure. It was basically a dead project, weeds growing and the whole thing. We have turned it around and made it a successful subdivision, bringing new homeowners and taxpayers into the area. We've since sold 20 homes and since they took control of the property. The project has been a huge success, and potential was so great that they started looking at the adjacent land around us to expand. VRE had been negotiating with the owners of the subject property to expand our neighborhood into that property. During their due diligence time, they did find that there was no legal or physical water to this property. So they were continuing to do their due diligence on that while they were putting millions of dollars into adding water supply to our neighborhood so that we could be in compliance and be a responsible developer. While they were doing that due diligence, we were notified of this rezone that there's now a manufactured home park going in there, which was a surprise to everyone and very disappointing. The type of housing right next door to our project would hinder any progress that we've made. Our homes are ranging around $300,000, creating a nice subdivision with affluent buyers coming into our community. And this type of buyer does not want a manufactured home park. I mean, I know they already have one, but all the views are to our west, which is right where that property is. When you're in North Point, the walls that surround us kind of block us out of everything around us, except for to the west, where we have all of our mountain views and lake views. So this is exactly what the homeowners are going to be talking about, is looking at these manufactured homes. You know, this is a delicate time in our real estate market, and supply and demand has finally caught up with each other, and we're in a healthy environment for sales and growth in this area. And I think adding 515 new homeowners in this area, or renters, or whatever they are going to be, would not be good for our community.
I just have a question because I'm pretty familiar with all that property out there. I'm trying to figure out how it's going to obstruct the view because it's about 50 feet above the street grades in North Point, and
yeah,
there's walls that are going to be up. I'm just trying to figure out how you came to the conclusion that it's going to be.
It's not going to be obstructing the view, but that would be their view, is what I'm saying. Because right now they're looking at sandy hills and mountains, and some people can see the lake. And now when they look up, they'll see manufactured homes.
Looking at the lake's a stretch from there, but
there are some lake views.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of the speaker? Thank you. I'd like to bring the applicants back up. Those are the last speakers that we got. The commission raised several questions, and I'd like to let them address those to the owner developers. I think you had a question regarding the water treatment plant?
Sewer.
Yeah, sewer.
Sewer and then.
Can you give us an idea of what you're thinking about for actually for water and for wastewater treatment? I know Mr. Gall came up and
yeah, he had mentioned that there was an existing agreement with the prior developer with the city of Lake Havasu to provide the sewer.
Could you just restate your names again?
Angela Rinaldi.
Dewey David.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Gall had just stated that there was a prior developer agreement with the city of Lake Havasu to provide the sewer service, which their lines are, at the property borders presently. So that's an option. If that option doesn't work out, we have extensive experience building, operating public utility companies, wastewater treatment plant, which we've built, Sorensen Utility in Fort Mohave, which is now owned by EPCOR, which is the water provider for this project. So we either would propose rehooking up to the city's system or providing a on-site package plant, which would service our development and also provide, affluent water to water the landscaping and some of the other amenities that we would provide.
Effluent you're talking about?
Right. We'd have a use for the water.
Okay, what about just regular water?
Well, it's just like they had to go through with the other speakers, the Viernan development. Same thing. It was part of their line extension agreement with EPCOR to go out and provide either a new well or more water quantity from somewhere else, buying water rights. It would just be just the act of going out and purchasing water, just the same that they did, and just conforming to whatever the line extension agreements would be with the water provider. It's very common with utility companies and developers.
So you really don't have anything from Lake Havasu City on the sewer yet, but if they're not willing to do it, you're willing to do a package.
We've met with them. They seem very accommodating regarding that, but there's two options.
Okay, and the water would be, you don't know yet, or?
Well, we're within their certificated area, which they will provide the water. As a matter of fact, there's a water tank on the property, and that actually is in between our development and the one that these people are getting up and speaking about. And also there's this geographical divide of a big wash that divides the properties. But, like I said, it'll be worked out with the EPCOR water company as to how the water will be provided.
Okay, because we've had a couple speakers mention that EPCOR has no water to give. So. Yeah,
well, I'm a little bit in disagreement with that, but if we had to, we'd go out and purchase the water, similar to what they've done to provide the water. EPCOR presently has like a 1,600 acre foot water allocation from the Bureau of Reclamations. They're using about 800 acre-feet right now. There's probably 70% or 80% of the buildable land is probably already taken place. It just now would be what they have left. So I think they have water. They're re-examining that, taking an inventory to see if they have existing water. But if they do, we could use it. If not, then we just go out and purchase it similar to VRE. And it'd be part of our line extension agreement with EPCOR.
Okay. Any additional questions of the speakers?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Am I understanding that you're going to be doing the developing and the sale, as you've done in the other communities that you've had?
Yes.
Great. Okay. You've done a good job.
Thanks.
No additional questions of the speakers? Just a second, Paul. Thank you very much. Paul, you wanted to come back up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm Paul Sharp, representing VRE. I'd like to clarify a couple of things. First, with respect to sewer, I think the city of Lake Havasu would be very happy to supply them with sewer capacity, is what they've built out there. 4 North Point is very underutilized, so I don't think that's an issue for them. With respect to water, I think what's been stated up here is a mischaracterization of really what's going on. EPCOR, who I spend a significant amount of time communicating with, has no more physical water. North Point had a will-serve agreement for 455 homes, and the agreement provided that only 80 homes would be provided with water unless the developer, who at that time was Chris Reed, could supply physical water for the remaining homes. The will-serve agreement did allocate and commit legal water rights from the water company for the entire 455 homes. The water company advises me they have no more legal water that has not been allocated for infill, which is the remainder of their will-serve agreement obligations, which includes North Point and other smaller infill situations. They have no more legal water. To buy legal water and transfer it for residential use, it's characterized here today like no big deal, we'll go out and get some more water. It is a big deal. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. The physical water, that site has no physical water, and the water company is not going to provide a will-serve agreement unless there is some mechanism that says, okay, you're going to supply us with physical water. We're almost at the threshold of the 80-home limit in North Point. The prior developer drilled 2 exploratory wells, both of which were not appropriate for use either because of lack of flow or lack of quality. May I continue, sir? Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
The biggest problem in the area is that a lot of the water has a huge amount of nitrates in it, so it's economically not feasible to treat it. We checked 2 existing wells that were shut down and retested it and came to that conclusion. We finally found a location to drill a well, and it looks like that's going to work out, but it has been, I've been working on this for 4 years. And not only do you have to drill a well within their service area so you can get into their distribution system, but you also have to get it somewhere in an approximate proximity of where it can be treated, because there's not a drop of water in those aquifers that is potable. It all has arsenic in it, or too many nitrates, or other ingredients. It's a very difficult process. I've been working on it for 4 years, and I've spent a lot of money, and it doesn't make sense to me that you would go ahead and entitle somebody to do something that's detrimental to our project, and it being detrimental to our project may not, I don't know if it's a viable reason to turn it down, but we've created some traction there and are really bringing something to the community. And to entitle somebody that really hasn't done their homework. They've had very limited dialogue with the water company. I can guarantee you that, because any conversations with the water company is a matter of public record. And I've inquired, believe me, and I know exactly what the extent of the dialogue has been with the water company, and it's been extremely limited. And it's been somewhat confrontational, I might add. So I think they need to take the thing a little further along and say, how are we going to solve the water problems for this before you immediately create a detrimental impact to something that is positive to the community, and that's our project next door. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Okay, no, thank you very much. Okay, let's see. Any discussion?
I'd like to see some positive response from EPCOR regarding the water.
30, 60-day continuous, give them time to do whatever needs.
60 days.
60 day. I'd be okay with that.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion to postpone this item for 60 days upon the applicants getting a little more detailed information from EPCOR.
Second for discussion.
Okay.
What does that do to your time frame? No problem? I'll second that.
Okay. The applicant agreed to the 30 or 60-day continuance on this. And we had a second. Those in favor, item number 6 being continued for 60 days, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries, continued for 60 days to get some information from EPCOR. Item number 7.
Item 7 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of Assessor's Parcel 354-62007 from an AR 36A Agricultural Residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone to an AR 10A Agricultural Residential 10-acre minimum lot size zone to allow creation of residential parcels in the Cedar Hills vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the proposed rezone as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? Could you please come up and just, I've got a question that going on your parcel map that you have here. Staff, you may have to.
Yes, sir. My name is Howard Lapierre.
My question is in the staff's report, they're talking about the fact that the property has legal access. And my question is the horseshoe back, is that it? Horseback
yes,
lane
Horseback
or trail?
trail.
The way you've got the parcels split up, the top 2 parcels have got access with the road that goes through it, or trail, but the other 2 do not. My question is, are you going to grant an easement for those other 2 lots so that they really have legal access, or what was your plan?
If it would come to that, yes, I would grant easement to them other 2 sections of the 40 acres.
Okay. Mr. Montgomery, what do you think about putting an easement on these, or certainly putting it into the recommendations, because it's not in there now?
Chairman Flechet, generally when a parcel plat is processed, legal access to each of the parcels is required, so it's a standard part of the parcel plat thing that it will show the legal access to those new parcels.
Okay. There wasn't nothing on the map showing where these might be or not be, so I just wanted to clarify that for everybody in the commission. So we have no other speakers on this item. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Item number 7.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 7. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 8.
Item 8 is an evaluation of a request for a zoning use permit on Assessor's Parcel 313-61061 for secondary residence in an AR 36A agricultural residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone in the Antares vicinity. Staff recommends approval of the zoning use permit as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present?
Yes, sir. My name's Stephen Toller.
Okay. You understand that by getting a conditional use permit that it can only be used by non-paying people, family?
It's for me.
Okay.
I bought the property in 2000 for me and my brother to retire to. He had to come here then. I stayed in California for my mom passed away last year. And now I'm going to move here and put my house here and spend the rest of my life here.
Okay. Any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve the zoning use permit.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 8. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 9.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, item number 9 is evaluation of a request for a Board of Supervisors policy for the implementation of a schedule of development per Arizona Revised Statute 11814.I for changes in zoning districts or rezones. This particular item was initially presented to the commission last month. With the intent that the commissioners would take a look at it, let staff know if you had any further comments, etc. To my knowledge, we did not receive any. It's back before you this month as an action item to make a recommendation to the commission or to the Board of Supervisors. Staff recommends approval of the policy for implementation of a schedule for development as outlined in the attached Exhibit A.
Thank you. We have one speaker on this item, Dave Hollingsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission members, Dave Hollingsworth. I believe this is the item that I brought up, but I don't know that for a fact, and I haven't received any documentation from the county staff about what their recommendation is. So I'm kind of at a loss at this point, so I guess right now I'll answer any questions you might have. But my position still stands the same, that we believe that zoning should be in perpetuity without any reversion clause.
Any questions of the speaker?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Clarify that if you could. And zoning changes should remain in perpetuity with no possibility of reversion.
Correct.
Even, what do you say, nothing lasts forever. When you indicate in perpetuity, there'd be no opportunity for a subsequent purchaser to submit an application for a rezoning to a different change.
Of course, but they have to go through every one of the same hoops that that first person did.
Okay, I just, your statement was in perpetuity as if there was no, you're recommending no opportunity to change the zoning beyond that.
No, the statement in perpetuity is what I got changed at the City of Kingman over 20 years ago. So the zoning is in perpetuity at the City of Kingman unless someone comes in, goes through all the hoops, all the steps, gets all the approvals, and has it rezoned.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of the or discussion? Thank you, Dave.
I have discussion. I don't understand why the county wants to revert it. I mean, if it's good enough to stand when we rezone it, I mean, if we zone it commercial, they could put a truck stop in there. They could put whatever they want in there. If it's good enough to stand up when they originally rezone it, I don't think we need to be reverting it.
Well, the issue is or part of the issue is that if you put the zoning permanent, anything in those uses could be used without the approval of the people that live next door. So let's say you, well, a good example was the truck stop. If we were to do C2H, anything in the C2H could go in there at any time. And even if they didn't have a truck stop, if we were to put that as C2H, anything in the C2H could get moved in there, whether the neighborhood liked it or not.
Yeah.
Same thing if it was just C2 or C1 or neighborhood commercial. Just those uses, land uses that are in, under those ordinances could be allowed in there. So what we're saying is when we're rezoning something, we want to know what's going in there.
So basically, we want to do a conditional use permit on every rezone?
No. Well, first of all, if they're going to do a rezone, they're going to come in with a plan for whatever it is that they're going to put on that property. For example, they wanted to put a truck stop. That isn't going to...
Yeah, wouldn't work in that area.
It's not going to work in that area. So even if they went to neighborhood commercial and they didn't do anything with the land, at the end of 2 years, what happens is staff sends them out a letter, registered letter, and said, you know, this is coming up for renewal. Can you give us a progress report on what you're doing, if you're doing anything? And the applicant, most of the time, on a feasible project or a piece of dirt, will come back and say, yes, I just haven't got my approval from ADOT, or I haven't got this, or I haven't got that. And then staff will say, well, do you want to continue or get an extension of time? And then we would grant them an extension of time. The last few years, it's been for at least 2-3 years. If they do not respond after all the letters and the phone calls, then what happens is staff has no choice under state statute but to bring it back to the commission to figure out whether or not they want to revert it back to the AR 36 or AR 10 or whatever it got zoned from to. The issue that Mr. Hollingsworth wants is if we zone it C2 or C2H or neighborhood, whatever we rezone it to, it's there unless someone comes in and changes the zoning again.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is if we give them the zoning, and if they won't respond to an extension of time, they are not going to respond to a letter, a complaint, something on the property. So there's really no communication at all on what's going on that piece of dirt. And if they don't want to communicate with the county, then it's kind of like, why should the county continue?
Yeah, no, I understand, but at the same time, in this economic time, somebody could have lost that, and a lien holder sitting there not knowing what's going on. I mean, it could be lost in paperwork.
That's always a possibility, but you know, it depends on how soon before the reversion. Sooner or later, they're going to get a letter because the letter's going to go to the landowner, and title's changed or been foreclosed. They are not going to get this letter. And if the applicant responds to staff, staff will know to get a hold of the bankruptcy court or get a hold of whoever it is. They're not going to just revert, in the past we have never anyway, just revert something back without a lot of due diligence on the county, on the part of the county staff to find out, get a hold of the person to find out what's going on the property. Whether it's for sale or, doesn't make any difference. There's just been no response or no, let it go back. That's kind of what has historically happened. So that's...
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
In the reversionary process, is the notification of the people within 300 feet also required?
I don't believe so. Ms. Ballard?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, no. In the reversionary process, the notification of surrounding property owners is not required. We are required, however, to send certified letters to both the applicant and the owner of record at the time, informing them that basically the county intends to start the process for reversion. And we do make every effort to find these property owners and also to locate the applicants. And sometimes actually that's not easy on a lot of the ones you see come before you, particularly the ones that we don't have any response back. These people have faded away. They're not responding to anything. The information that the assessor's office has on them has not been kept up. One point of clarification I would like to make is that the policy that staff has put before the commission for consideration, the intent is on most of the typical reasons that the commission and the board would have come before them, that this clause not be used. Most of the rezones that the commission and the board see are logical extensions of existing land use patterns or fill-ins. Particularly in this particular economic market, you're seeing a lot of fill-in of
Could you just elaborate on that so they understand what you mean by that?
By fill-in?
Yeah.
My favorite example is along Highway 95 in the Mohave Valley. We have a lot of properties where the zoning will go C1, C2, C2H, C1, and then we'll have an RM or an AR. And the RM and the AR, of course, are residential zones. And then we'll go back to a series of commercial zones. It is actually a problem for the other surrounding land uses to have that RM kind of stuck there in the middle, acting as a hole in the donut, if you will. And those are the kind of fill-in rezones that it's beneficial to the area, it's beneficial to the county, it's not a break in the land use. Those fill-in types of rezones are ones that it is advantageous to the owner, to the area, to the county, to have those become effective zones right away. Logical extensions are not a problem. Mohave County does have a healthy speculation a healthy speculation market. And occasionally, and this commission will see these as well, you'll get a proposal for an area when somebody comes in and says, I'm going to build X. And X in that area is logical, it makes sense, but another land use allowed in that zone would not be. And this is a place where the board and the commission might want to use the clause allowed at them in 11.814 by saying, okay, we'll give you X number of years. And that X number of years, the county's used one year for a long time. It's negotiable.
Yeah.
There's nothing in state statute that says you have to have X number of years, so it's negotiable with the applicant. You can say, okay, well, as the local government will give you 2 years, the developer. An extreme example would be we had one rezone for a power development. It was an alternative energy development that came in. And normally we would just give them the 2 years. They came back to us and said, 2 years, or 1 or 2 years, excuse me, 1 or 2 years will not work for us. We have a lot of federal permits we have to obtain. We have a lot of state permits we have to obtain. Can we have 5 years? And everybody involved in the process agreed that 5 years was a reasonable period of time. They received 5 year.
But that's still for conditional use.
That's still for conditional use, and that is one area where another use may not be appropriate. There are uses allowed in the zone. It was a manufacturing zone. There are other that they obtained. There were other uses in that zone that would not be appropriate for that area. And so if the renewable energy project does not go through, then it allows the county an opportunity to revert the zoning back and allow another proposal to come forward that does fit the area and would bring in, the economic benefits the county is seeking.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If you had to estimate how many properties have reverted back in a year, are they hundreds? Are there a dozen, 500?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, it appears that there have been approximately 12 revert back in the last 2 years.
What kind of zoning did those properties have? Most of them, anyway.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, it appears that most of them had a commercial zone that was more intense than C1. So you're looking at C2, C2H, and probably some CMs or CMOs.
And those, we got absolutely no response from the landowner or the applicant in response to your letters? Is that
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the most part, that's correct. We notified the applicants and the owners, and we received no response from them. There were a few, however, that did come through, and the owners or the applicant, and typically the owner, asked to keep that zone due to the lack of progress or the lack of effort made. The Board of Supervisors made the decision not to extend those and not to deem them vested and revert them back to the prior zone. I can think of one in the last 2 or 3 years that they've done that with. I cannot think of more than that.
Any additional questions of staff? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on item number...
I see John Gall snuck back in. John, do you have any input on this?
Get my workout this morning, thank you. I know it's been discussed about continuing the zoning and giving extensions, and I'd say from the development community that in the current economic times, there needs to be some acceptance and leeway for developers to allow for the projects to come fruition. There's still not capital. I'm working with a group of builders in San Clemente, California that are going to build homes that are under market value, and they can't get financing to build the homes. They own the land outright. I'm also dealing with a builder in Phoenix, Arizona that is in a similar position. They own the land. They just can't get the financing to build the homes. They've held onto the property, paid their taxes, tried to keep their entitlements current. So my preference from the development community would be to see some sort of leeway giving and acceptance to allow these builders not to have to renew every 2 years, to have extensions and to go forward. And I understand that some members of the board have had the position that just revert everything back. But if the developer has gone through the wherewithal to maintain the property for 2 years, 4 years, and spent a significant amount of money for that engineering and work to be done on the property, I think it would be appropriate to give them an extension, and I think they'd be willing to pay the fees for that extension to some extent if it wasn't exorbitant to go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Thank you, John. Okay. Back to any further discussion or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion on item number 9. Or we can continue it and think about it some more.
I don't think 2 years is enough time, personally. As a real estate agent, I have mixed feelings on this. I understand Mr. Hollingsworth's case, and I also understand staff. But 12 cases in 2 years or something is not very many. And I'd like to continue it myself, to think about it a little bit more.
Okay. Ms. Ballard?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, definitely if the commission's not does not feel comfortable with the policy that's before you, please do think about it some more. Please get back to us if you know you kind of put your finger on whatever it is that's making you feel uncomfortable. One point of clarification: the the policy, as it's written and proposed to you, states that both the staff of the Development Services Department and the commission will discuss with the applicant, the person proposing the development, and discuss with them appropriate timeframes to put into this condition. So we're not automatically going to come to the commission with a 2-year or a 1-year. And definitely the commission, you know, if the applicant appears before you and you have an opportunity to discuss with them appropriate timeframes, we would encourage you to continue that discussion with the applicant so that we do give them appropriate timeframes. You know, the purpose of this is to wipe the slate clean for dead projects. It is not to hamper or stop a project that actually is viable and is moving forward.
Mr. Chairman? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, with the current economic conditions and so forth, it's been difficult to get financing for a lot of these projects. And if you get something C2H and 2 years later it reverts back and someone has sold the property next to it based on a C2H, it kind of defeats the purpose, in my opinion. But
Well, the other part of that is due diligence on the
I
part
understand.
of.
We all do that.
What about Prop 207, does that come into play? Do we have any exposure to that?
I don't think so, Mr. Taylor.
Prop 207 would come into play if there's a change in an entitled land use, if there's a change in the land use that devalues the property. When you grant a zoning that is conditioned on a schedule of development, that is the land use that's established, and if it does have a sunset provision, it's not a change, because that's the condition for which the land use was established. If it's not fulfilled, it wouldn't be like taking a property right away, which would trigger the 207 type of liability.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Dave Hollingsworth, since it seems you guys may want to discuss this and postpone, which is fine, because I've been trying to do this for 20-plus years here at the county, so this is no new thing, but when you're thinking of this, keep this one thing in mind. In order for your ordinances to have the effect of law, people have to go through process. And the processes are very simple, and I'll make this very short. That property owner first has to decide in his own mind that this is the highest and best use for that piece of property, or he's not even going to come in front of you and say, rezone this for me. When he does that, he's going to have the staff meetings. They're going to have their recommendation. He's going to meet in front of you. You're going to have a recommendation. He's going to go in front of the supervisors. They're going to have a recommendation. And in the meantime, everyone has been notified, neighboring properties, and they all have a recommendation. So for your ordinance to have that effect of law, we have now done that because we've gone through all those processes. For you to then say that, okay, we'll give it to you conditionally, you have to do something on it within a specified period, whatever that is, I believe you are hard-pressed, even though there's a statute that allows the staff to do that, you're hard-pressed to justify that to any property owner that's paying taxes on their property in this county that says, you have this piece of property, we went through all the process and we gave you the zoning, but unless you do something on it within a specified period of time, you lose it. That's not right. That's the argument. That's an entitlement that they have bought and paid for and done through the process by your ordinance, so it should stand.
Thank you.
My thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this effort is housekeeping more so than forging new ways of handling property. People go through the process, and I respect what the gentleman said, to get the zoning changed, and they commit to doing it on that basis. They've committed to the community that their highest and best use is what they want to do. And things don't always work out. And when they don't work out, the staff then comes back and tries to contact these people, bring them back and say what's going on, what can we do? You've come to us, you've got the approval. Have you made progress? Do you have issues with financing? Do you have issues? My way of thinking is that we work with them until such point as we've exhausted. People disappear, they do. And if that person who had the highest and best use in mind disappears, then his intent disappears. And my feeling is then we should return things back to the way they were, because we all understood and agreed that this is what was going to happen. But if it doesn't happen, and we make every effort to try to find them, then we need to have that mechanism to be able to return back to ground zero and go forward and not be left with someone's intentions and purpose in mind that never became viable.
That historically has been the plan, I believe.
I believe so, too.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to mention that I agree with that myself, and I think that the process that's in place, I totally agree with.
Okay. Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion on item number 9.
I'll make a motion to adopt item number 9 with staff's recommendation.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second on item number 9. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we had 2 noes, and I believe the reason is you probably wanted to continue it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will I be copied on that, since I haven't seen what that says?
All of it will be on the website, the county's website. Hope I didn't misspeak there, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Chairman, this item has been on the website for approximately 6 weeks.
I know. That's kind of blew me away when he didn't know anything about A, or Exhibit A, I should say. Item number 10.
Mr. Chairman, item number 10 is a proposal for a citizen participation plan for the update of the adopted International Building Code and the National Electric Code. This particular proposal for a citizen's participation plan was considered by the Building Code Advisory Board at their meeting, at their last meeting on June 19th, 2013, and it was recommended for approval. Under state statute, and I think we're just following what state statute has us do for many of the items that are considered with the building code. They'll come before the commission for consideration. We're following that process right now. The proposal is is under Exhibit A on your item, and it includes the dates that the Building Code Advisory Board proposes to meet, as well as the dates that they're looking to have their work complete on reviewing the proposed 2012 codes and the 2000, I believe it's the 2011 National Electric Code, and then submit those codes to this body for a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The public is invited and is encouraged to attend the meetings of the Building Code Advisory Board, and this particular schedule is now posted in draft form on the website. We have a special web page set aside for the update of the building codes, and it's posted in draft form on that page right now. Once it's approved, we will be removing the draft and making any adjustments that the commission has made. And well, actually, it still will be draft until the board approves it, but we will be noting the changes that the commission may make. The proposal for the building code updates themselves go to the Planning Commission as a public hearing item, and then they will go on to the Board of Supervisors as a public hearing item. The meetings of the Building Code Advisory Board are advertised in the legal, just the classified portions of the newspaper. The same will occur when it goes to public hearing. When it goes to public hearing, we'll also do posting. All aspects of the open meetings law are being followed. So staff is putting this forward for the commission's consideration.
Thank you. Any discussion? We understand this is just making the approval for the citizen participation meeting on the electrical codes. So if there's no questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to approve this citizens participation plan.
I move we accept the staff report.
Second.
for item 10.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just have one question on the date. The first one is June 19th.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Posnell, yes, the first meeting of the Building Code Advisory Board meeting has occurred. It was primarily an initial kind of setup meeting.
Okay.
For the most part, you know, when things will happen, and this was presented to them. That meeting was actually advertised to the public as a display ad. So we actually went above and beyond what is normally being proposed.
If I may add, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Posnell, that we started this process with the Building Code Advisory Board, and we have a target date because we want to be in sync with the cities as much as we can. And like the city of Kingman already approved these codes, so we don't want to lag too much behind. And they started the process in June, and the citizen participation plan is really just to confirm.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a typo there. That I missed something.
And everything,
so
everything has been
no big, I
advertised.
didn't mean
just
to
like
delay
this.
anymore.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
That's kind of, I'll make this after the fact. Anyway, we have a motion and a second on the citizen participation plan. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 11.
Mr. Chairman, item number 11 is another citizen participation plan, this time for the review of the Mohave County zoning ordinance. And the proposal basically is to have most of the meetings with the public actually before the full setting membership of the commission as workshops and discussions. We will be talking to the full commission as the time comes appropriate for these, about dates, et cetera, appropriate dates for your calendars.
Okay.
At the last meeting, the commission appointed 4 of its own members to be sitting on a subcommittee. The department will be working with the subcommittee. Those meetings of the subcommittee will be placed in the newspaper, here again under the legal ads, several days prior to the meeting, so the public will be notified of them. The workshops will be notified, I believe the notification says 15 days prior to the workshops. So the public will have ample opportunity to come in and discuss what's being proposed with you. All proposals for changes will go on the website in ample time prior to the meetings, so the public has access to them. Like with the building code amendments or changes, there is going to be a web page specifically dedicated to review of the zoning ordinance established on the county's website under Development Services. So the public can go there and take a look at what's going on. There will also be a link where they can actually contact the staff. If they want personal emails to go to them about upcoming meetings, we'll be asking them to sign on to a roster, and we'll be able to send those emails to them as well. The hearings themselves, now, the workshops will not be public hearings. They will not be noticed as a public hearing, and then will not be considered a public hearing. Any public hearings before the commission will be noticed according to state statute. And here again, whatever changes or whatever amendments are coming before the commission will then again be placed on that website. They'll be placed in different places, so if it went to the subcommittee looking like X. It came out of the subcommittee, went to a workshop looking like Y, and it ended up coming to a public hearing looking like Z. You'll actually be able to follow that transition because it'll be placed in different places. The changes will be placed in different places. The citizen participation plan allows the commission to decide to wait till you have a complete amended document and take that forward, or if for some reason you want to take things forward on a topical basis, it allows you to do that as well. So you'll read in there, you've read it, hopefully read in there where you the amendments can move forward in a block as one document or as several documents. That allows the commission to pull out a topic that they might think is very important, is very hot at the time, and move it forward.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
In the notice process, do we go to the registrar of contractors and get his mailing list to notify those folks with changes in electrical codes and building codes? Could we?
It is very difficult to pull out the registered contractors or the
Contractors with the registrar of contractors?
well, you can pull out the contractors with registrar of contractors. You get everybody in the state. And there are some issues there. You know, you could go through and see where their home base was in Kingman, and that is a possibility. It's a lengthy process. We've done it before for some of our software. But some of the issues we have is we do have contractors that are based in Flagstaff, based in Los Angeles, or even parts of California. We don't know where they actually come and build unless there's somebody we regularly see. What we have tried to do, however, is work, and I was very glad to see this, the county has local contractors associations that are more active some periods or not. Well, most of them are becoming very active because they see the market coming back. So we have been working with those local contractors association and the local home builders association, and we've been working with them and letting them know that we're looking at making changes to the building codes themselves.
Just trying to make it efficient. They're going to be the ones held to the fire, and you hate to have them come to the desk and say, well, there's been a change, and have them feel like they didn't have a part of that.
Well, and definitely we want them to know what the code says.
Mm-hmm.
For a variety of reasons. It can hurt their licenses if they don't follow the adopted codes as well. So we do want them to be very well educated in those codes.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve based on recommendations.
We have a motion and a second for item number 11. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Call to the public. Anybody wish to speak on? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn our meeting.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
See, if we had carried over.
I have to piss, too.